but all of a sudden Clement is all alone. He's going to turn around and pick up CRR. It's going to be a 1v3. He finds a second right away. That was Mitro for the full confirm, but he goes down in third. Raxo up on the high ground, running it out now, and the challenge comes up from Kinzo, and he gets swatted down. Raxo and Gamma Gaming Cammy will close that one out. 9 eliminations and 34 points from the Victory Royale. Match 6 closes out there.
In a blink of an eye, before you know it, a Victory Royale is accrued by Raxo and Co. We're going to need the breakdown from Zeke, Shio, and Reese. What you got for us, fellas?
What we got, Sancho, is day 2. And we have even more day 2 teams. This is what we were talking about at the very beginning of this show. Cammy, Artur, I cannot believe they find themselves in Victory Royale. Just for clarity, they came in and ended day 1 in 14th place. And now they're going to start day number 2 with the Victory Royale and eliminations. I mean, this is exactly what we've been talking about. I'm so surprised, and gentlemen, we're going to break down kind of what went down a little bit more in just a little bit. But remember, we've got the standings. We have these cumulative leaderboards. You've still got Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. They're far and away, even after that game. I mean, 40 points ahead? I don't know how they're doing this.
It's like they didn't win that last game, but they did not lose it either. They got to survive all the way till the very end, and now they have an even bigger lead, Reese.
17-point match for them. Really, really nice. And like obviously, like we said, we need to keep this consistency up. They're already coming in strong on the first game of day 2, consistent as they were yesterday. We can see kind of Andalex not managed to get that many points, only 4. So they're still holding on to that second place spot. But, you know, they really want to be trying to bridge that gap between first and second. And so far, it's only gone a little bit further.
Yeah, so our top 3 also switched up with Benji going down to 5th, and then we see another trio, Kinzel, Wolfies, and CRR get 3rd overall. This is what Zeke was talking about, though. Raxo, Cammy, and Artur of Victory Royale. 14th place all the way now to 6th with 76 points.
Wow. That's impressive, and you know, to answer a little bit of Sancho's question, how did they do it? They did it because they were popping off on low ground, being really, really consistent. They managed to keep that mobility for the end game, take height, and win the game that way. So really nice play from them, pushing them up from 14th all the way up to 6th.
Yeah, and all the way from 6th down to 15th. There's been a few switch-ups here and there. Nate, Rojo, and Bobo move all the way up to 11th from 15th from what we saw before. Cooler, Robabs, and Blackie are getting that Victory Royale, but are slightly teetering off now, dropping out of the top 10 place. And Paige, we'll see if they can bring it all the way back. Vettel, iDrop, and Stair6 also a trio to look out for that plays very consistently. And Falconly, Yaxo, and Skype, I love actually seeing their names now. It looks so clean in 15th place. 47 points, not too far behind the competition. Still very close for the top 15.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it when you can read the names, it's clear, and you can find the players. I'd love it. And all the teams that you're seeing here between 16th and 20, you know, most of these guys are really struggling with that early and mid game, in particular with Storm Surge. You know, these guys in this grand finals kind of lobbies, going for Storm Surge tags is extremely difficult, and your strategy really needs to be down. Queasy Milan Chapix in 19th, coming out of Craggy, is really struggling with that right now. So hopefully they can figure out their strategy, get their points, and keep moving.
I think we could chalk some of this up to just first game jitters, right? Like, we watched the top 3, except Mongrel, Mitchell, and Tayson, kind of fall a little earlier on than expected. But again, we've got 7 total games. We've got 6 more. It's okay, just first game jitters. Let's just test the waters. Okay, game 2. It's time to bring it. Let's go ahead and talk about what kind of transpired in this last game, as well as walk back through the Victory Royale. There's a couple key things that happened there that if you blinked, you missed it.
Absolutely. Throughout the entire FNCS, we've been focusing on the top 8, the top 15. Now it's about the top 3, especially from day number 1 and how they looked. Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson landing over at Stark Industries, one of the best POIs, and they had a very good game in day number 2.
Some would say the best POI, but the second best POI, in my opinion, over at Doom's Domain. We're checking in with what was our 3rd place team, which was Benji, Savage, and Lechi. They are contested similarly to the end few games of day 1 by the dual media trio, fighting off spawn every game now.
Yep, and Reese, this is your pick over at Sweaty Sands. They're looking pretty strong as well.
They're looking strong, and you know, the Twitter was going wild about Sweaty Sands last night. They were talking about it heavily because it is a fantastic drop spot, but unfortunately, they didn't seem to manage to perform out of it that day.
Yeah, over here, we'll tune in with Tayson, Mitro, and Mongrel. The reason they find themselves in this low ground chaos is because Cammy, Artur, and Raxo saved all their shockwaves, saved their actual crash pads, took height in the 8th zone. These guys only had enough mats to sustain, not retake height, and they ended up falling. Here's Letchi, Benji, and Savage continuing that fight with a dual media trio over at Doom's domain. Letchi goes down. It's just Savage and Benji left in the end game.
Yeah, it's just Savage and Benji left. They did what they could, but that fight took them way too long. They ended up being in the zone with 2 other trios in the second zone, still in Doom's domain. Made them rotate late, and that left them with horrible materials because they ended up getting focused in that endgame.
And we have Andalex, X-Squeeze, and Janice in the endgame as well. Also a little bit shambles. It looks like all these day 2 trios have improved. These day 1 type of top performers, the top 3, are looking to repeat things, but they will have to adapt to how these teams, such as Raxo, Artur, and Cammy, are closing out these games.
Yeah, and like I kind of alluded to earlier, these guys took height with those shockwave plays in that last moving zone, and because Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson did not have enough materials to maintain that high ground, they could not take it back at that point. It was secured for Cammy, Raxo, and Artur. They just continually pressured down from there on, and that was the victory royale.
Man, I mean, again, first game jitters. We'll see. We got to see for the data from game number 2. The question is, though, is there going to be a new day 2 trio that will pop up like this one that we just watched? Or will our first day trios show up? Well, let's find out as we jump back into game with our casters. Take it away.
Zeke. I am Sancho West alongside Sundown, and it is a new day. Yes, it is. We are seeing some new trios who are trying to meet the performance of our day 1 trios. And hey, that number 2, sometimes a sequel, it can't be better than the original. We all talk about movies here. Sundown, you've seen it before, and here's take a look at our game 2 of 7 here in the grand finals. And we're going to see a finisher up in the Northwest region, which is going to really favor that Doom's domain, and more importantly, that Sweaty Sands trio.
Yeah, what is going on just slightly west there of the ruins? There's like 3 different teams and 3 different triangles all fighting over kind of the one henchman chest that's guaranteed in that area, and a couple others, so a couple scavenger routes that are directly on top of each other. We're going to hop on board here with somebody else executing on one of those scavenger routes. This was our match number 6 winner as we turn over to now the official backside. We're on the back half of the games here. Matches 7 through 12, and right now, again, we talked about it at the start of the morning, it's who can catch Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson. And despite the fact that this trio was able to take away the victory, they were able to sneak up there into a 4th place with 3 eliminations. So still a 17-point game coming out of them there. As you can see a little bit on how the scavenger execution kind of goes about. The key is maximizing your materials, getting enough distance covered to kind of scout where you're available to go to next, and see if there's anybody you can potentially ambush who's also running one of these routes. But so far, not going to happen, as we're going to swing back on board here to Clement, Nakos, and Floki.
And we talked about this already, Sundown. This is one of those trios that were very deadly in heats. They kind of get up really quickly to get those elims. You mentioned 8 minutes or less, and they get an elim. They average about 5 elims in their qualifiers and heats. They looked really good. You picked them as well to walk away as the grand finals champion. And we had some day 1 jitters, a little bit of stumbling blocks. And now they're just seeing this new opportunity. They took a break that is so important. Now we're at that official halftime point. You just to be able to change your playbook, just to change your trajectory. And like we mentioned, it's just a shift in just a little bit. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Just a simple shift to get you back up into the leaderboard standings.
And one thing to note too, is they had just 2 really where they weren't able to get in those placement thresholds. You can see on the right-hand side, each elimination being a point, but the placement starting to tick in once you're in the top 17. And for a trio like this in particular, they thrive on consistently getting placement points. They're not necessarily known for those absolutely massive over-the-top victory royales. They're more than capable of winning a game, but it's not typical for them to be getting those 15, 16, 17 eliminations VRs back-to-back. They did it in heats, though. However, now we're going to swing over to a little bit of contention going on. It's the battle here at Doom's Domain, and yet again, as we saw during the qualifier 3 rounds, Benji and Co. controlling the vault and then utilizing the secret passageways back and forth to try and get positioning over here on the north side of the house. And you can see the dual media group now trying to rotate back over here. However, all of the onus here is really going to be on Benji and Co. to take this one out.
And we're seeing this engagement could be so detrimental to run. Dual Media's trio is sitting in 30th place at the moment. At day one, Benji, Mr. Savage, and Lechi I think they ran them out of Doom's Domain at the very beginning, very early on. It looks like Dual Media has stepped it up just a little bit, maybe trying to take advantage of Mr. Savage, Lechi's, and Benji's slow starts. If they could shake off that slow start, maybe Benji could kind of put a run together to contest with Mongo's trio, to contest with Andalix. But right now, so far, we're just seeing another slow start here, Sundown. Just a little bit. We maybe see the early signs of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tasting the air, and I could taste that slow start.
And the one thing to note is about the slow starts today, you think, yeah, well, we got 7 games today. That's one more than we normally get. Like, it's okay. There's time. Mirza there gets picked up by Benji. And a nice little 50-50. Able to swap over there to the Epic AR. Lechi is also going to be able to get a pick up there on the side. Benji's going to find the other one, and Lechi doesn't get converted, so saving some key resources there as well, not having to go over and utilize the reboot. We'll have to find some additional white heals. They have the bandage cannon, so not going to lose too much, but I mean, we've talked about it. Everyone is playing catch-up to Tayson, Mitro, and Mongrel, and one slow game, they got 17 points last game. So all of a sudden, that difference at the top, specifically if you're Benji, Savage, and Lechi, you lost 12 points last game. You have to make that up some way, shape, or form. And if these guys don't go down, if we don't see kind of that classic patented Mongrel over-aggression where he kind of overreaches a little bit in the early and the mid-game, and they keep getting their Storm Surge tags, I think, again, it's going to turn into a race for second.
I mean, the biggest fear as well is if somebody or some trio just decided to do 50-50s and try to drop into Starks. It happened before. They did lose their spot early in qualifiers when Jazzbase Trio, who is in the grand finals, mind you, kind of contested. They kind of started to lose it, but I think that woke up MMT. That woke up this trio to let them know, look, we're going to have to understand that someone will contest us at some point. And they just obliterated Jazzbase Trio in that next day in that tournament. So that is what we're kind of watching here. It's like, will it happen? Could it happen? We already seen OCE. The Lynx Trio slip from that first place, going all the way down to 7th place or so. It could happen, but so far, I don't taste it in the air.
Es que hay un cantante,
grand final champion here.
Hay un cantante mexicano que se llama Ozuna y es parecido, o sea, hicieron colaboración doble con Ozuna y Traviesos Cortos.
And right now, trying to put that on display, utilizing, again, we talked about this as well, the first shot accuracy from the Stark Industry Rifle and the high base damage of it, the fact that it still hits for 35, even at maximum range, and being able to convert 50+ damage headshots, make it one of the strongest weapons. And particularly, I mean, everybody has seen the clip of Mongrel on the high ground with an infantry rifle. This is about the same. And you'll also notice, too, they'll generally run in terms of the rifle choice. They'll have a burst rifle on Nitro, and then Tayson and Mongrel will pick up those Stark Industry rifles. That way, when you're spraying a wall, you have the fast first shot accuracy from the Stark rifles, and then the 2-shot burst coming through on the burst AR. It gives them a bunch of pressure to hit trios behind.
We saw that stat of Indretta, Sapphic, and Mongrel having 15+ elims, so they are slaying out. But what a metaphor. You see Mongrel's trio all decked out, swagged out in whiplashes, and then you see everybody else in the back of the pack trying to catch up in the coop. That's the kind of race that we're talking about. Can the turtle catch the hare? And this hare has an extreme crazy start, and they're not going to be lazy like that story hare. They're not going to take a break. They're not going to eat. They're going to keep running at full speed. They're going to take their whiplashes and cross the finish line. The question is, can the people in the coops and the trucks, any kind of Fortnite vehicle, man, I'm going to take it all the way back to the board days. and maybe the shopping cart days, who's going to catch up to that Whiplash trio? I don't know who that's going to be.
¿Tú estás en directo, lugar?
Yeah, you can see those Mark 51s being so fast
Hola.
on rotation.
¿Tú
But
estás
I
en
will
directo, güey?
say the one thing that could end up potentially being a little bit of a stumbling block for the trio would be if they
Estás
end
en
up
directo,
struggling with
güey?
Storm Surge today. We've already seen in the first 2 games that first Storm Surge has been massive
Haz
in a
directo
completely
tú, lugar.
uncontested drop spot. If they aren't able to kind of get enough
Haz
tags to get
directo,
over the
concha.
top, that could force them into kind of one of those classic mongrel over-aggressive situations.
Right.
As long as they avoid that, I think they'll be okay, right? I think that
Exacto,
if they've done enough so far where they have the playmaking ability over the course of these 6 games, that they're going to have at least 1 or 2 more solid games in that instance, as long as they don't have 1 or 2 absolutely ruinous games by Storm Surge. This should be good enough for them, but right now we're going to hop on board with the pressure coming from iDrop straight into the box. Downs gets picked up there, no problem from iDrop 7. However, Stirstix is going to eat a little bit of a problem there. He gets caught in a separate box, and all of a sudden the 2v2 on the mark, you can see iDrop trying to push forward. They're going to try and get a little bit of a disengage, make sure they can get shields up, but a little bit of a slip up there from what is normally a very strong box-to-box trio.
That was like an extreme push. I've never seen the 1, 2, 3 go. And everybody just box dive in with the AR spray and getting right inside as a trio. And then what ended up happening is they ran into that edit with the triangle edit, and one got caught, got hit right in the shins. You mentioned this in the EU side of things. You got to wear your shin guards, man. You got to pop them, or if not, someone's going to crack you, give you that slide tackle, and there's not going to be a referee to come out of nowhere and give you a red card to kick you out. You're going to have to do this on your own.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you'll get a warning there in the form of one of your players dropping down, but the retaliation not going to result in anybody else being sent off. You can see Nems and Wave Doko rotating through the river, using that downstream current to try and get a little bit of speed, but iDrop being aware of that as well, getting good pressure onto him here, and actually looks like they're trying to kind of pick this fight 2v3.
Creo que va a jugar con un
Storm Surge is
amigo,
ticking
¿ok?
on 20 players going to be impacted by that here.
Va a
In a minute
jugar
and
con un
45
amigo,
seconds,
¿está bien,
iDrop
lugar?
trying to force his way into the box, but plenty of
Dale.
angles and pressure
Vamos
coming out
a-
from the other side. Super
después,
limited
¿ok?
amount of materials here, down to only 17 builds. You can see that under his one elimination here. So we wait for it to catch up, and you can see
Si quieres,
good
yo voy a
pressure
jugar con un
coming out
amigo.
from Nems. He
Y bueno.
is down the shield advantage, but
Un
he
gusto
has his
haber hablado
teammate providing
contigo,
some
¿ok?
rifle support on both the angles that you can see. Jaganza and Joko just laying down shots for him. A little bit of spread out, though, if they are able to force in and get Nems situated. And they're going to use the harpoon gun straight in, and Nems is going to get picked off. A huge pickup there from iDrop and Vettel, but can they get out of the water?
No, da igual. Por eso te dije.
Sí, es que ahorita apenas me di cuenta que me llamaste hace ratos.
Yo estoy en directo, chilling.
¿Ah, en serio?
Sí.
Te lo voy a calentar mientras.
Invita.
No, ya no es que estabas desconectado, pero ya te vi. ¿Me recomiendas a un guardia oscura?
No, es una mierda.
Deja primero el juego. Hay que jugar creativo rápido porque es que no juegan todo el día.
Ok, yo voy a terminar de
Hoy
ir.
he hablado de Lashland.